Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Quilt Stars. I'm so excited today to be talking with Kathy McNeil. Kathy, how are you today?
I'm very good because it's so much fun to do this with everyone. It's hard in quarantine, and I miss you guys.
Oh my gosh, we miss you too. And I just miss everybody so much. We are so excited to be able to be presenting videos with our different quilt stars and my friends. I hope you would you would agree. And every week we're coming out from Quilt City, USA to give everybody a little bit of inspiration, maybe some ideas while you're at home quilting. And we hope that you will quilt on together with us. So Kathy, I want to ask you, you told me a very interesting story. Where are you right now?
Well, I'm squashed into a corner of my daughter's living room. My daughter and I, she's a nurse practitioner, have always had this dream that we wanted to, at some point, find property together that would have a house for her and her family with 3 children, and that Bruce and I would build our sort of downsized house and then continue to live on the property. There's a big trend in the country right now for multi-generational living, has super benefits. I can help her with the kids right now. And hopefully as Bruce and I get older, then she will be helping us. So it's called Age in Place. And in January, we found that perfect property and we moved up here, sold our houses, and Bruce and I bought a 34-year-old trailer to live in, and we thought we'd be living in there for about 3 to 4 months while our house was being built. And then COVID happened and everything shut down. And now we're 5 months later and we're still living in a little trailer. But Shona generously let me set up in her living room. Bruce will give you a quick little pan. He's helping me. He'll sort of pan around the living room and show you kind of our space.
Hi, everybody. The happy husband, Bruce. I know a lot of you. And back to the start of the show.
Oh, I recognize those quilts too. And Bruce, it's great to see you. Hello.
Hi, Liz. Hi, Liz. Nice to see you too.
Nice to see you. So,
asking us about the gate over there. It's between the living room and the kitchen, and the kitchen side has linoleum. And one of the dogs in this group is 15 years old, and she's blind, deaf, and incontinent.
Aging in place.
Aging in place. And they're taking such good care of her because she just kind of ambles around blithely that I have high hopes that they're really going to take good care of us too. So.
Well, good. I'm glad that that's giving you high hopes.
That's right.
So, Kathy, who are these girls that I saw in this pan?
These are my most wonderful, creative grandchildren, and I am the luckiest grandma because this happened 1 month before COVID happened, that we all moved up to this property. Otherwise, we'd be totally separated like so many grandmas across the country who don't get to see their babies, and I live with them. I get to see them every day, so it's this huge benefit. And the girls have set up their own sort of little quilting space in this tiny little corner we're in the living room. And so they've been working along with me doing projects because they're out of school. They do Zoom every day with their teachers, but then in the afternoon, we do some projects together. And you know, I have this beautiful studio that Bruce built me. And it was about 700 square feet. I mean, beautiful, that I left behind. And when I first started, I started out in our dining room. I just kind of took over the dining room of my house until Bruce finally decided to build me a studio. And now I've kind of gone back, you know. I think wherever you go, if this is the thing that you love, you know, you make it happen. So we're making it happen.
Absolutely. I can tell that you've got a pretty good setup there. I see your thread. I think fabric bins over there, and I recognize those quilts. So you're making it happen. And wherever you are, even if you're at home, this is a great example. You might not have the state of the art or whatever kind of studio, but you can still be creative.
And you know, I'm just back to like where I began, and that same love and same passion is there. And my next little studio is going to be about the size of the little space that I started within my old house. So it's all work, and the benefits are that that we all get to be together. So, well, I want to show you what Haley's working on. So this is Haley. Hi. So Haley, show us what you're working on.
I'm working on Oma's owl pattern, and my owl is going to be white instead of brown.
And Haley's doing the Apple Quick system, so she's turning her edges. Haley, how long have you been quilting?
Since I was 5.
Oh my goodness, since you were 5. It looks incredible. You're doing a great job.
She's made a patchwork quilt. Neither of my daughters quilt, but both of my granddaughters do. So she's gonna show you she's just gonna turn her edges, and she's doing you can see a pretty complex little piece there with very nice.
Can you get any closer so we can see?
Yeah, Bruce will get closer for you can see. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect, thanks Bruce.
So Haley, what are you turning your edges over?
The Apple Quick interfacing.
And that just stays in there, so it acts as your template. And then, so she draws out from my pattern all the little pieces she needs, and then she turns up the edges. And how's it going, Haley?
It's going really good, actually. They're fun and easy to use, and I just love it.
And what are you going to do with your owl when you're done?
Probably hang it in my room because I have Oma's forest quilt in my room, and I think it'll feel quite at home there.
Oh, how old? Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 11.
You're 11, so you've been quilting for 6 years. That's amazing. That's longer than I've been quilting, Haley.
Up the body too. So she's starting to put the pieces together, and she hand appliques them. And if I were to show you that up close, you would not see her stitches either.
Oh my goodness, that is so impressive. Impressive.
And Grayson, so this is Grayson, and Grayson's 9.
Hi, Grayson.
There you go. Say hi. Grayson wanted to make her own design, her own pictorial quilt. So tell us about your quilt, Gracie.
When I started, I just wanted to make something, and so I didn't draw it out like most quilters do. I just got started on this fabric. I knew there was going to be a tree. I knew there was going to be a butterfly. It was going to be something like a park, so probably a bench. And as you can see, there is. When I was doing the tree, I thought to put a dog in it because I thought it would look cool. And then when I was doing the dog, I knew there was going to be a bush in it too. And so I thought, well, I could do a blueberry bush. And so over here in between these rocks, I have a blueberry basket. And on the tree, I did hand stitching,
Yeah.
you can see.
She did a hand blanket stitch.
And under the bench, this steel, I painted it because I thought it'd be too hard to sew or fuse on. And I put lines in here to make it 3D.
And what are you going to work on next, Gracie?
Well, all I have to do left is the binding, and right now I'm working on Oma's panda quilt, but pattern, and I've done 3 leaves, and I've turned them over.
Grayson, you did an amazing job. You're a 9-year-old art quilter, and I love especially the dog because I have 2 dogs at home, so I'm a big dog person. And I just, both of you, I'm so impressed. And so if you're at home, you have to be inspired by these girls. They are amazing, and they are our future quilters. And today's quilters, honestly, you're doing an incredible job. So all of you at home who are watching, you have got to be inspired by these amazing girls. I am so inspired, and I encourage you to work on Kathy's patterns as well. Kathy, let me ask you, what are you working on right now?
Oh, I'm having so much fun. I love making quilts about wintertime, one of my favorite things to do, and sort of crazy as we're hitting summertime, but I have a new winter quilt started, and I have part of it done. So this little girl's name is Emily. Why don't you come in closer and I'm going to show you. So I'm going to start with my singing mice. They're about 3 inches tall.
Oh, I love them so much.
And I don't know why they're in there, but they'll find their home somewhere in this whole quilt. So, but last week in the AQS newsletter, the Onpoint one, there was a whole article on hand embroidery, and it was great. It showed some of the stitches. It talked about how to do the knots, not that we care as much in quilting because they get buried in the batting. But when I decided to make her little outfit, I thought, you know, I haven't made a crazy quilt or anything like that for a long time, and that would be a sort of creative, fun new way to make her little clothing. So Bruce is going to come in closer, and you're going to see that I crazy pieced her little coat. So there's lots of different prints in it, and I also included some wonderful trim braid I found. This is silk, but you can see that if we go up here a little bit, that on the piecing that I'm starting to do some of the crazy hand embroidered stitches, even a little bit of ribbon embroidery here. Can you see the pocket? You're good. So, and I just had so much fun because I haven't done that in a very long time. So what's wonderful too is that if you're using Apple Quick interfacing as your template material, it acts as a stabilizer. So that means that I can do all this hand embroidery, and I didn't even hoop this up because it's stable enough. I can just hold it and then get all those stitches in. But anyway, I had so much fun. Here, we'll go up and we'll scan different parts of her. So just fun little hearts. I didn't put the spider's web in it that you're supposed to for crazy quilt stitches, but I couldn't figure out where to put that. So, and then she has her little scarf. So I do everything in units. So this whole, her whole outfit is a unit. Her head is another whole unit with her little cap that I worked on. And this is some silk I got in Thailand like 20 years ago. This is something I cut out of some lace, those little snowflake things. So I was just making it up and having fun as I go, kind of that Nordic sort of look a little bit. I painted her face. So, and I'm going to talk about my paints and stuff in a minute because this is one of my favorite things to teach about to different art media. But I'm having a blast on her. So she's got little boots. So you can see her little boots here. So they're a unit 2. And so they're just all set to go. But I don't know if you can see it with the light, but they've got 1/4-inch buttons, and then the lacing is just little embroidery. So, and that's fun. And that'll just slip under the coat area. So I'm having lots of fun with her. And then we can, let me come over here and I'll show you some more stuff.
Well, Kathy, let me say, I am always so inspired by your creativity. Something that is present in all of your quilts is that you're able to use whatever, you know, you're able to use fabric and paint so creatively. I know the first time I saw in one of your quilts where you explained to me that you had just flipped the fabric over and used the reverse side to create, you know, different levels of color. It was just amazing to me. And that, you know, you're so creative. And I want to say, I didn't even realize that was a crazy quilt and the dress until you pointed it out. It is so sophisticated looking and so beautiful. I'm just in awe.
Oh, believe me, I've so wanted to be sophisticated someday, but I don't think, thank you, Liz.
Of course, of course.
Mice, I don't think you're very sophisticated if you're having a blast making singing mice, but thank you.
I love the singing mice. Can I ask you a question real quick, which is, you know, when it comes to working with different fabrics and different media, can you kind of sum up what your philosophy is in terms of creativity? Like, how are you inspired to use things in such versatile ways?
I was a nurse for 35 years, an intensive care nurse. So when you're a nurse, if you want your patients to have the best outcome, you follow things, you know, you do this step and then you do this step and you do this step. And it has to be proven that that's what works. And so when I started quilting, I needed a place in my life that I could be wild and crazy and just make stuff up and not be so structured. I often think if, you know, if I'd been a kindergarten teacher and everything in my whole professional and wild and English paper piecer, because I would need that structure just for the balance. So for me, it really truly is just about playing. And if I'm making up a little girl and drawing her suit, and then it just, I think, well, it'll be fun. I haven't done crazy piecing for a very long time, and I love all that hand embroidery stitches. I do use a lot of, well, not a lot, primarily I use cottons, but I do use synthetics and silks and other stuff. And the only thing I caution students on is that to be sure that if you turn your iron down to like the silk setting, but make sure that they don't, when you're ironing over them, just go, and just go into a molten mess. But if they hold up to low, temperatures, then have at it, have fun. And the silk, if you back it with a little interfacing, it's not difficult to work on at all. So, and then the art media, like I said, I've told many of you, I drew a lot when I was a little girl till I went to nursing school. I love to draw. I have an older sister who's a painter, so we get together and do those kinds of projects. And so it all is just a big playground for me.
I love that. You can tell because everything is so creative, and I'm just inspired by your work. So, and it works because, you're a multiple award winner, published quilter. So I'm really happy to be able to talk to you about your different techniques. And I want to take a second really quickly here to touch on two quick things. You mentioned the Onpoint newsletter. So if you are at home watching and you don't get the Onpoint newsletter, all you have to do is go to AmericanQuilter.com. It's a free newsletter. It comes out every week to your email. And so you will get patterns, different tips, articles, all kinds of inspiration. So it's definitely something that you want to check out, and it'll be perfect for, when we're all kind of at home looking for things to do. And the other thing I want to say is, since you touched on your work as a nurse, I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank all of the hospital staff and nurses and doctor's office staff and everybody who's out there right now fighting the good fight, because you're our heroes. So thank you to Kathy, and thank you to all of you who are out there now.
The girl's mom is a nurse practitioner, and she works with COVID patients in the hospital every day. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, of course, and thank you to her, because it's a scary time, and people like your daughter are the ones who are taking such good care of us. So thank you to all of you. So
thank you for being appreciative of that.
Of course. So now you were going to tell us about your art media. Is that right?
Yeah. So at the end of the sewing table, because I don't have very much room anymore, but it works, I've just set up my little painting area with some of my favorite paints. So I just put down a piece of plastic, and then I can paint over here. So with the girl's face, excuse me, the little watercolor paints that I just love. There's free videos on my website showing you how to use these, and you can get them there too. They're from Switzerland, very high quality art media. Anything I put on my quilts, I check to make sure that they're color fast and are very high rated, because I actually sell most of my quilts. I want to make sure that they're really good products. And then, so those watercolors, like on a face, can just do that soft disbursement. So you can create shading, and you can create, a sense of form where it's lighter up here and darker as it goes under. And then if I want to do something like, so this little pot is a turned edge pot, but if you see those little designs on there, they're so tiny and intricate, it would be difficult to turn all those little edges. And so I simply use the Inktense pencils, and I drew those in. So I also have those. So there's just so many fun things to do. Foiling is another really fun thing to do. But so I have a whole class that I teach on different art media that you can incorporate into your quilting for surface design, or for like borders, like something like this, that just, gives you a bigger playground and more things to have fun and to try. So, so I'm just painting in my little corner here. And you might notice this quilt behind here. I know you said you recognized it. So this quilt is from my iQuilt class.
Yes, please. That's what I was going to say next, is if you were at home and you were
I have two iQuilt classes with AQS. and one's on the Audubon quilt over this shoulder, and one's on landscapes. So with both of those classes, you get a starting pattern. And in the landscape class, this is the pattern that you get to start with. And it goes over everything that I can teach in a 2-day workshop on what photographs you can use to make landscape quilts, which ones might be more successful, how you turn that into a pattern, different techniques for applique and construction of that, quilting landscape quilts, just about everything that you need to do that. So that's from that class. And then if we look at the Audubon quilt, so probably my most famous quilt, and this one is also an iQuilt class, and probably 3 workshop days, because I go over every single one of those blocks with you. So you could do the blocks if you just wanted to do the cardinals. Of course, you could just make a cardinal wall hanging. But every block I cover, the fabrics I use, the techniques I used, any painting I did, the quilting I did, everything, absolutely everything is in there. So, and those also come. So AQS has also made those available to people who prefer the DVD, but you can also get them as online streaming classes too.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much for touching on that. I want to tell you, if you're at home, and I know that you're feeling inspired by Kathy's work, because I am as well. If you go to iquilt.com, you can check out those classes. And the great thing about those is you can pause, you can rewind, you can check things over and over again if you didn't catch it the first time. And now I expect that you will, because Kathy is amazing at explaining things I can follow, and I'm a very, very novice quilter. But you know, if you want to be able to watch and work at your own pace, iQuilt is perfect for that. So we're really proud of the classes that we have up there. And like she said, if you prefer to just have the DVD to bring that at home and watch it wherever you like and not have to use the internet streaming, you can certainly do that. So visit iquilt.com and you'll be able to learn from Kathy in your own home.
In your pajamas, without any makeup. Okay, so this is the pattern that you get with the iQuilt classes, these 3 little owls. And yes, they're real species, they're burrowing owls. And I teach you how to make these just in little units also. So the way I do things is a little different than some quilters who begin in the background, and then everything goes on, you know, as you're coming forward, especially if you're fusing. And when I started this, when I was working full-time at the hospital, I didn't take a lot of classes. I thought that if you were going to make some little owls, that you'd figure out how to make the owls. You'd draw them and get some fabric and figure out if you could even make them. And then you would figure out, just like an author writing a book, you would decide, well, you know, who could be their supporting cast? And then what kind of a set do you want to be behind them? So I make everything as these little free units. And then I could take them to the hospital with me and just sew them together. So they're just put together, and then I figure out, you know, if you're several of the cardinals, I make a bunch of cardinals and they just get plopped on some branch till they're happy. So there's a lot more freedom and a lot of ability to be a little bit more improvisational too. So that's really fun. I have, along with the iQuilt classes, I also have 3 DVDs.
Oh, wow.
Of my own. So one on quilting the more modern way that is just looser and freer and a lot more fun. I have a landscape one too, because the AQS book that went out of print that had these 2 patterns in it. So we turned that one into a DVD, and multiple ways to applique. And then I was just going to show you one other thing that I worked on this last year. So the music quilt, Bruce will show you that.
Oh, Kathy, I recognize this quilt. I used to play French horn in high school a really long time ago. So I love you. And that's a hard instrument to depict. So tell us about this quilt.
That is and it's a large instrument too. So, well, I love music. So this quilt I did last year, and most of my quilts are pretty realistic animals or landscape scenes. And I was trying to be more creative, push myself out of my normal box, be a little bit more abstract. So this quilt I didn't even draw out. I started with the shape of a cello, And then as stuff came to me as I was making it, I just threw in more and more parts of instruments, fun shapes that I put in the cello, fun, colors and fabrics. Look at Bruce show up here. These are little prairie points and that they're not attached. So, and then this gold lame, because I didn't know how to make a French horn without it being really gold and shiny. Miserable, terrible, terrible fabric. Like putting socks on a rooster. I mean, really bad stuff. but you kind of have to have something shiny. And then it has all these little dancers. So different little dancers are everywhere in it. And those are just ultra suede, so I didn't even have to turn the edges on that. And then it's got lots of this new modern quilting where you kind of go underneath and over the top of shapes. You don't have to, it's not so plotted out. It's just very free form, free motion quilting and lots of fun. So this quilt, my oldest daughter loves it. And my youngest daughter thinks it's a mess. So, it's always just up to the eye of the beholder. But for me, it was great because it really was me pushing myself to be more creative and, like I said, try to be a little bit more abstract. So
yes, I remember when I first saw that quilt and then I found out it was yours. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so different and it's so, so different from what we had normally seen from you. And your quilts have over time just gotten more and more versatile. So I can tell that you're experimenting with new things and they're all beautiful quilts. And what's so funny that you said about your daughters is I could tell your granddaughters, those amazing young women over there. We have one who is doing, the turned-edged applique, and the other who is basically doing some improv art quilting. So whatever your style is, you can be inspired and you can, go with whatever you feel is the thing to do and make a beautiful quilt.
That's right. And that's why I think we have 23 million quilters, is because there's so many techniques, so many styles that everybody can have fun and play and find what works for them.
Absolutely. So have fun and play at home and find what works for you. You heard it from Kathy herself. So I want to ask you something else. During this time, we've all got, into some new hobbies, some new things that we're trying out. I've been talking about how I've been baking a lot, and I have to tell you, I will probably have gained 10 pounds by the time this is all over from all the banana bread I've been making. But I want to ask, have you come up with any new hobbies, or are you returning to any old hobbies during this time?
Well, I heard yesterday there was a thing on Facebook that said that we're all going to come out of this either as a chunk, as a hunk, as a monk, or a drunk.
Which
kind of covers it. So another thing that has come in very handy is when Bruce and I first married. So we've been married 50 years. So this was a long time ago. We were young and poor, and I used to cut his hair for probably 20 years because my mom taught me, and so I could do it. And a couple weeks ago, Bruce's hair was starting to get like down to here because nobody's had a haircut forever. And he was starting to look like an old hippie. And my son-in-law was getting pretty scruffy, and my grandson was getting nice little, locks, longer locks. And I thought, I remember how to do that. I think I could do that. So we had a COVID hair salon day, and we lined all the boys up, and I cut their hair. And then my youngest daughter got really into it, and she cut my granddaughter's hair. She cut my hair. So we just pulled out some new skills.
I love that. You're new skills and you're making it work. So great work. And 50 years, that's an incredible marriage. So congratulations on that too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a huge help. I wouldn't be able to do all the teaching that I do and the business. I couldn't turn out 2 competition quilts and teach the amount I did do if Bruce didn't run the business part. So I love him dearly and I'm very grateful for him.
Oh, well, Kathy, I want to thank you so much for talking with me today. And Bruce, I want to thank you for filming. I want to thank your wonderful granddaughters for being here and showing us your amazing work and inspiring us all. And I just want to say, if you're at home, now's time to get to work. I think that we've got a lot of good ideas from Kathy. You can check out her classes on iquilt.com. And I want to wish you all success in whatever you're making. And one more thing, if you like this video, be sure to go down and click like and share with your friends using the buttons below. And make sure that you like the American Quilter Society Facebook page so you'll be the first to know whenever we get a new video on Tuesdays. And until next time, this is Liz and Kathy coming from Quilt City, USA.
Stay healthy, be creative, and be kind to yourself every day. You are all important to me.
Oh, you're important to us too, Kathy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.